Welcome to TimeBenders Talks, the ultimate destination for professional photographers and creative business people. Hosted by Peggy McCartha, a certified professional photographer with over 3.5 decades of experience and the visionary founder of the TimeBenders community. This weekly podcast brings you insightful conversations with business-savvy experts who also excel in their creative fields. Providing you with valuable tips and insights, our mission is to encourage, inspire, and educate you to empower you to find your success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll find practical advice and motivation to elevate your craft and business. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
Every single week, I bring you amazing guests, but today I have Ethan Decker with me, and he is like, I hate to use the word guru because I don't like guru mentality, but I mean, he kind of is the branding guru. He's the branding guy. I mean, I even wore orange just for Ethan today. So, Ethan, please tell us a little bit about who you are and, about how you got to where you are today.
Well, I took a journey. It was a vision quest. I spent 7 years in a hut in remote Alaska, and I realized I need to understand the science of brand growth.
I think you're full of something,
Yeah,
but I
a
do
lot
like
of
it.
things. Oh yes, um, yes. That's the guru journey right there in a nutshell, right? Uh, where do I begin? From Philadelphia, there's that. I got a PhD in ecology, which has nothing to do with marketing, kind of, except it turns out it does. Um, and spent 20 years in marketing and advertising. So that's quite relevant. And in the past 3 or 4 years, I've been building out what I call applied brand science, which is my company where I help organizations of all sizes and of all stripes apply the science of brand growth so that they can grow. It's been fun.
And I think our mutual friend Aisala introduced me to one of your videos. I don't know, has it been almost a year ago? Probably. But I loved it because you were talking about laws and levers. And
Yes.
I always say that you need to know the rules so that you know how to break them properly. Like I believe in rules. Like there's rules to photography, there's rules to business, there's rules, and the laws and levers like lined up, different verbiage, but lined up exactly what I've always been trying to say. Like certain things are going to happen. If I have a pin, I let go of it, it's going to drop no matter what every single time. But then there's the levers that like sometimes work and, sometimes work for some people in some situations. So, I don't know. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the laws when it comes to branding?
It's been a real good system, this laws and levers thing, which I stumbled into, kind of made up, but it seems to be working. Like you said, a lot of people find something that works for them and they think it's a law of marketing or a law of business. And it's often not. It's just a lever that works for them. And you can pull different levers, which is why I call them levers. And you pull them and it's kind of like a slot machine. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. As anyone who's posted on social knows, sometimes you post something and you get 3 responses, and sometimes you post something and it blows up. And you can't always predict, which makes levers kind of maddening. But
Makes
the
you go
law,
crazy.
yeah, it makes you go a little crazy, a little nutty. But the laws are nice because they are things that apply to all brands all the time, with a couple of constraints. But gravity is pretty universal until you get into like a black hole or something like that. And also, what's interesting, just to stick with this metaphor for one more second, gravity is important until something else matters more, like wind resistance. I don't know if you ever cycle, Peggy.
No,
Um,
Ethan, I do not. I'm
okay.
sane, but
Okay.
carry on.
Okay. Well, out here in Boulder, we're crazy, and a lot of us get on bikes. And gravity matters in cycling, of course. If you're climbing uphill, it's exhausting. And if you're zooming downhill, it's either fun or terrifying. But if you're on the flats, as we call them, flat roads, wind resistance matters more than gravity. 80% of your effort is to fight wind resistance. So similar things happen in marketing. There are big laws of marketing and advertising and branding that surprisingly few people know about, but they're universal laws. And they often matter a lot until these conditions change, and then maybe one of the other laws matters more. So for instance, one of the big laws in marketing is that if you look at your buyers, your customers, you don't have small, a group of light buyers and then a group of medium buyers and then a group of heavy buyers. And certainly you don't have very few light buyers and very few heavy buyers. And you don't have a bell curve either. What you tend to have over and over and over again, if you've got more than 20 customers, is you've got what's called a banana curve. And I hope my graph is the right way for people, but you have lots of people who buy you once, and then about half as many who buy you twice, and then about half as many who buy you 3 times, and then about half as many buy you again. And then it just tails off from there. So it's a banana. It's a banana-shaped curve. And it's a shame that nobody knows what a banana curve is. Some people have heard of a long tail. But, the technical name is something terrible. But no one knows the birth name of the bell curve either. All they know is its nickname is the bell curve. So it's a law that you've got lots of light buyers and then a few medium and then very, very few heavy. It's true for me. If I look at the clients I've worked with, I have lots and lots of people who've hired me for very small projects. And then I have a few really, really big clients who've hired me for huge national or multinational projects. And so that's a law, and you can count on it. And if you understand it, and if you really take it in, it changes how you see the world, and it changes how you market and brand yourself.
Well, and it also goes to like realistic expectations.
Absolutely.
Because, you tell a story about loyalty. They'll have to go find you on YouTube, but because otherwise we will take the entire podcast talking about this. But basically, like, you tell a story about people that are like, you're super loyal to a specific brand. Maybe it's Nike, but you also buy other brands. Like, you don't just buy the one thing. And I think that's interesting, because when you stop and think about it, you're like, oh no, I'm super loyal to, oh, actually, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I do have, these other brands and these other things. And so when we're out there marketing ourselves, especially when we are in a creative business, and somebody goes to one of our competitors, we're like devastated. We're like, oh my God, I thought they liked me. Like, I guess I'm just going to write them off. They're never, ever going to come back to me again, because
betrayal.
They betrayed me. They were unfaithful to me. They let someone else take their pictures.
They cheated on me.
They cheated on me, and when we get like that, then we put ourselves in this energy where we maybe unknowingly isolate ourselves from those clients, and we don't really give them a reason to come back to us.
Yep.
And it's very ridiculous, for one thing. You don't know if somebody, photographers see that all the time. They have these clients that they think love them, and then all of a sudden they see an Instagram of some other photographer that took their images, and you're like, what? But that
How
person
dare they?
Yeah. It's like, but you don't know that person may have said, hey, let me take some pictures of you, and didn't even charge them. And the person might not have even liked them. They were being polite because they were their cousin's friend. You don't know the situation. Or maybe they really liked the pictures.
Right.
Maybe they wanted a different style of photographs for a specific thing. Doesn't mean they're not coming back to you. And, it doesn't matter if, I speak in photography, but it doesn't matter what you're doing, what your business is. Can't do that. And I love the way you explain that.
Yeah. Yeah. The world of marketing, and not even just in the States, but certainly in the States, the world of marketing and advertising is inundated with, is drenched with this metaphor of love and relationships.
Yeah.
And ad agencies are always trying to romance clients, and then clients are trying to romance consumers. And there's this notion of having a relationship with your buyer, and the word loyalty digs into that even deeper, because loyalty is a multi-layered, rich word that has all kinds of baggage, frankly. And when you look at actual purchase behavior and you take the emotion out of it, you see, like you said, a very, very different pattern. And it's clean and transactional. And instead of talking about brand loyalty, what if we talked about brand habit? That would change how we feel and think about the whole thing. So instead of being brand loyal to your, I don't know what, let's say dish cleaner, right? Or like Comet or Bon Ami, right? Your scrubbing powder. You wouldn't say I'm loyal to Comet. You'd say, yeah, it's the one I buy habitually. It's the one I buy regularly. And that takes out all of that presumption about feeling and love and faithfulness that colors how we think about our consumers and our clients. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't cheat on brands because we're not married to brands. We buy them when they're useful. We stop buying them when they change the sizes and it doesn't fit anymore. And you're like, oh, I used to love that brand, but now they went ahead and changed all their goddamn sizing. So it's at first sad to think that, oh, my clients aren't going to be loyal, that they're going to buy others too, and they're going to use other photographers, or they're going to use other branding people. But then it's freeing, because you realize anyone out there who hires a photographer is a potential client of mine. Like, I share, so we're not stealing, we're sharing customers. And that's almost a universal law as well.
Yeah, and that's a whole other way of, it's just a better place, a better mindset to be thinking of, it's not my client. You are not
Yeah.
my client. I don't own you. You don't owe me anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can't destroy me because you made another decision with your life for something that I, have no. Now I have a responsibility to keep my brand in front of you so that you don't forget about me. I
Right.
have a responsibility to, be out there and market myself, but you don't owe me anything. And I
Right.
think that is really freeing. And I like the way you frame that it's freeing. And the other thing you say is that people don't think about you. And when you first said it, I was like, but they do.
Oh
But
my God.
go ahead.
Peggy, I do this exercise with almost every group I work with, which is I start with a pop quiz. No matter who nonprofits, for-profits, educational, B2B, B2C, services, products, it doesn't matter. I start with this quiz and I say, you've got 10 questions. Question number 1 is, what brand of toilet paper do you use? And then question number 2 is, what's the logo? And question number 3 is, which variety do you get? The extra strong, or the extra this, or the lotion, or which one? Number 4, how much does it cost? Number 5, where is it manufactured? Number 6, does it have social media and do you follow it? And I keep going. And of course, at the end I say, okay, grade yourself. And then I pull up a whole bunch of photos of these brands and they go, oh, I thought the one with the bear was Angel Soft. And half the people don't know what toilet paper they use every single day. I mean, unless you have a bidet. But otherwise, everyone uses toilet paper all the time and they don't know crap about their toilet paper. Yes, it's good fodder for jokes too.
Yes.
But it's a great example because it's something that we buy so habitually. We use so much. We are so familiar with it. It's a pretty intimate product. And yet we don't know anything about it. So that's it's a massive fallacy. It's the fallacy of TMI. It's the curse of TMI. Once you have a brand or run a company, you think about it all the time, and you know about it, and you know the brand story, and you know the meaning of the logo. And most people can barely remember which toilet paper they use. So again, it's sad, but then it's freeing because you realize, oh, I don't necessarily have to teach them my big deep brand story and have these big brand differentiators. I need to make them think orange equals Ethan. Like,
And it
and
does.
then
I
when
mean,
they,
look, what did I do? When I was getting dressed this morning, I pulled out another shirt and I was like, wait a minute, Ethan's coming on the show today. I gotta wear orange. And so I'm like digging through. I'm like, I got something that's orange in here.
there you go.
Because I know Ethan orange. I even have a chocolate bar that is packaged in orange because Ethan sent it to me. And I have a t-shirt that says Science AF and it's orange.
Did you eat that chocolate yet, Peggy?
I didn't, but I still have
Okay.
it. Like, it's
Do me a
pretty.
favor. Do
You
me a
want me
favor.
to eat it?
Eat the goddamn chocolate, and then you can save the wrapper.
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
I mean,
I
otherwise, just go and get another bar of Tony's because it's Tony's chocolate only, and you
and
can,
just slide it in there. Okay.
or frankly, just you're right. You don't have to eat that chocolate, but you should at least get a real bar of Tony's and eat Tony's because it's
And
so good.
eat. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. It's again one of the, because it's a myth, a fallacy, the curse of TMI, that you think others think about you, that you think others know about you. You forget to do the really most fundamental thing, which is remind people you exist at all. And so you spend all this time spinning your wheels about the depth of your content and the story and the nuances of how your photography shop differs from their photography shop, because they're an expert in families who are more traditional, and families who are more traditional and also like bright colors. And I focus on families who are a little more modern and less traditional, but they like muted colors. Like, are you kidding me? They can barely remember you exist at all. So one of the things I do, and one of the things I recommend, is do stuff. Can I curse on this podcast?
Oh, you can.
Okay, good. Thank good. Do stuff that's shit simple, and do stuff that's sticky or sticks around. Because otherwise, again, they're not going to remember you. They're not going to think of you. So one of my little things is my logo is this little critter here.
Your
The Frelk.
Your Frelk.
Yep. I can't tell you how excited people get over this logo for a brand strategy company. I mean, are you kidding me? But I designed it just for that reason. I had an old logo and it was more technical and it had some story behind it. If I'm really honest with the thousands of listeners here, if I'm really honest, this logo really doesn't have a story. It's just sticky and cute. And I still need to probably come up with a story, and I kind of can. But I hand out these stickers, and people love them. I'm talking CEOs, business people, marketing directors, B2B people, like, and they take them and they stick them on all their mugs and their Stanley cups, and it reminds them I exist at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so unique. You don't even have your name or anything on it. You just have the Frelk.
Yeah. Well, not only is it unique, but because I give it to people who I know personally or I've met personally, then if they do have to find me, chances are good they remember my name is Ethan.
Yeah.
And so they can look me up. Or I know this brand strategy guy in Boulder. He wears a lot of orange. I think actually I should Google that at some point. See if brand strategy
Brand
orange
strategy
Boulder
orange.
actually.
Yeah. See what
Yeah.
comes up. You
would
should
be
you
me.
should do that. You absolutely should. That's funny. So what would you say is the biggest mistake that small businesses, creative businesses make when it comes to branding?
Well, we kind of hinted at it, but to put a much sharper point on it, the biggest mistake is to focus a lot on what people think about you and to focus on the nuances of your brand and not focus on, again, the shit simple ways you remind people you exist at all and making it easy to come to mind. easy to remember, easy to think of, and maybe even a little fun or a little heartwarming or whatever it is that is your flavor. So yeah, I oddly enough, as a guy who's done very, very challenging, difficult, and sophisticated brand strategy for big companies like Domino's and Gillette and Duracell, um, the Duracell copper top is just obvious. It's obviously different than Energizer and Everready. And anywhere you walk down a store and you see a big ass cylinder with a black bottom and a copper top, you think it's a battery and you think you're in the battery aisle or battery section or it's a battery display. So to be thought of at all in a bold, punchy, easy, simple way is surprisingly important and often skipped over because we want to be nuanced and sophisticated and tell a brand story, which is important, but important for like 2% of your audience, or important after they remember you exist at all.
Right. I believe your story is important, and you need that story, but the story means nothing if no one even knows you're around.
Yep.
The
Yep.
story, like they need to like see you. They need to click on a post. They need to click on something in order to hear your story. And if they don't
Yes.
even care enough to make that click, then that story's never going to get to them. So I
Yep.
think this is like the foundation. Like, yes, the
Yeah.
story's the next level. You need the story, but they don't know you're here. They forgot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think one of the most heartbreaking and educational moments in my life was, years ago when my youngest was in elementary school. I literally like I've always been a photographer. I've never done anything else. I talk about it all the time. I go to all the school events. I photograph all of the school events. And I'm with somebody, another mom on the playground. We're talking and she says, "Yeah, I'm looking for a photographer for blah blah blah." And I look at her and I was like, she's like, "Do you know any?" And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Yeah."
Yeah. That was
"Oh, you're a
BE before
photographer?
Ethan.
Oh, you're a
Right.
photographer?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother builds guitars and he lives in Hudson, New York, in the Hudson Valley, which is actually an interesting hotbed of music. And I suggested he make a few t-shirts that say, "I build guitars," and just wear them all the time when he's at the grocery store, when he's out in town, no matter what. Because again, right, people don't think about you and your brand. They might think about your category when they're about to start shopping for it, right? But they're not thinking about guitar builders or photographers on a day-to-day basis. They're thinking about, where the hell are my keys? What's wrong with my shoulder? How's my mom doing?
Why
You
is my
know?
back hurt again this morning?
Right, right. What am I going to make for dinner? And much more important things, much
Mhm.
more important things than our brands, mostly. So that's one of the biggest mistakes, is just assuming people think about you at all, and then trying to be nuanced and sophisticated when your job, first and foremost, is they remember you at all. You know who's got a great brand? 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
This
It's 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 unsophisticated, it's cheesy, it's blunt, but goddamn, when you've got junk, who do you think of?
exactly. Exactly.
1-800-GOT-JUNK. Like, brilliant, brilliant. And thank God they did get the actual phone number, because it would be a shame if it was some other phone number at all. So
But
yeah, be
yeah,
simple, be bold, be a little entertaining in some way. Either, I like to say humor or heartstrings, the two most classic ways to be entertaining. Yeah.
something that gets their attention, that that's different, that's yeah.
Yep. Something like a Frelk,
Frelk.
right?
I told Ethan right before we went live that I've had this Frelk on the back of my laptop for months, very many months, and our our college age child, the youngest, comes through the other day and was like, "Oh, what's that? Is that a frog and a deer?" And I was like, "It's a frelk." And they were like, "Oh, okay." They thought that's cool and walked off. No
Right.
explanation needed. They were like,
Yeah.
"That's really cool." I was
Right.
like,
But it caught their eye. It
it,
made them
yeah,
notice. It was interesting and a little quirky.
yeah.
And yeah, when I pass them out at workshops and meetings, some people are like, "Oh my gosh, these are great. Can I take 3?" And other people kind of smirk at them and then end up taking at least one with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because they're, and
Yeah.
just throw it out there. I do like stickers, so anybody with cool stickers, send them my way.
Okay.
I,
So
I'm a child.
speaking of, that's another thing that small brands don't do well, which is, first of all, they assume everyone's sophisticated and mature. And if it's a B2B thing or if it's important client work, it gets all very serious very quickly. So they take all the fun out of it and the humanity out of it. But the second one is very few small brands think of a merch program or a merch strategy, right? Because you're just a photographer or you're just a brand strategist or you're just a catering company or something. But what if you have really kick-ass hats? Or what if you have really adorable little pencil cases? Or what if you have fantastic little, baggies or satchels? If you're a photographer, you're always carrying all kinds of little satchels and baggies and shit like that. What if they were cool or interesting enough that people were like, "Oh, where do I get one of those?" And then they want to carry your stuff around voluntarily, which is, it's not free advertising because you have to make the stuff, but it's it's a permanent way to be remembered. So, yeah, a merch game is actually a very overlooked strategy for a very small company.
And it's an inexpensive little thing to do. For many years, I'm a headshot photographer for the last 10 years, and I mainly work with actors. Well, actors always are looking for a pen and they're always looking for a highlighter. They're always, always, always. So I got these highlighter pens with headshots by Peggy, and my number and everything on it. And I would give those things out all the time. And I would be places and I would see people with these pins, and people have literally said, "I got your number from so and so. They had your pin." And I was
That's
like, that
great.
was the cheapest marketing I've ever done. And
That's
people,
great.
because they don't lose that, because they're always looking for a highlighter and a pin, and there it's all in one place.
Yeah.
And the other thing I do is I have stickers because, again, I'm a child. I like
Yeah,
QR codes. I like stickers. I
it's
like,
fun.
and when I'm out, if people say, "Oh, do you have a card?" I go, "Oh, I don't have any cards, but I have stickers." And I
Right.
like pull out like 3 different types of stickers. They all have information on it. "Oh, can I
Yep.
have one of each of them?" "Sure."
Totally. Totally. So the fact that
Because
you're
nobody
doing
keeps a card. Cards are
right,
done.
right. But the fact that you're doing merch, that you've got pens is great. The fact that Headshots by Peggy is on there is good. The fact that you know what they need. They need pens and they need highlighters. Like you are observant enough and you've noticed. That's gosh, a really terrible term for it is like customer intimacy or customer centricity, right? But it's just you're thoughtful and empathetic in that way, and therefore you've come up with merch that is something they would actually like and use instead of stuff they'd be like, well, I don't need another keychain that says Headshots by Peggy. Why do I need a keychain? That's stupid. And then it gets thrown in the junk drawer in the garage. If it's kept at all. Whereas, right, they need a pen, they need a highlighter. Like one year I gave out not these mugs, but mugs similar to this. And it was a Yeti and the Frelk was etched. And on the back, it did not say applied brand science. Who the hell wants that on a mug that they take out into the world? On the back, it says, science is so hot.
I
Nice little
like it.
double entendre, right? Because it keeps your hot coffee hot,
Right.
but it is sciencey, but it's in a nice little cursive script. And I do have clients from a year ago sending me photos. In fact, last week, one of my clients sent me a photo of that mug in her hand driving to work. She thought of me. So
Yeah.
she thought she would just send it. So to be oriented towards your clients and your customers and what merch they would enjoy, and not just the thing itself like the highlighter or the pen, but then the stuff on the merch. So I usually hate logo t-shirts from breweries or distilleries, Deschutes Brewing or Avery Brewing. Okay, that's okay, but then I'm walking around with your damn logo and it's not a great logo. It's meh. But if it says something like you know, beer is proof God exists or proof God loves us, that'd be kind of funny. Or, it's beer 30 somewhere. Whatever the thing is that's interesting or cute or that I would enjoy wearing on a t-shirt or having on a baggie, that's next level merch. And then you might not even need your brand name on it. Like if your pens said something like, uh, God damn, there are too many lines. or crap, I'm only on one page. Like that would be a funny insider joke about an actor.
Right.
Like to think, what would actors think to themselves or say to themselves with a highlighter? Well, it's shit, I wish I had more lines. Or damn, I only have 12 lines. Or maybe there's a shorthand in the world of acting where they do say something like that, you know? Um, so if that was on your highlighters, oh my God, they would love those. They'd ask for more. They'd want to give them to their friends.
Right.
And then maybe it says headshots by Peggy at the bottom or
Right.
on the backside. Yeah.
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 I love that. I love that.
And
So go ahead. Go ahead.
well, just any small company can do that. It just takes a little thoughtfulness, a little empathy to your audience, and then a little bit of money. You can do small runs of all of this stuff now on like Zazzle or Cafe Press or whatever.
And that's the thing is stuff like that is so easy to get your hands on nowadays. I mean, it didn't used to be. I mean, this was like a big investment 10, 15 years ago because you
Correct.
had to buy it. It's like you had to pay the setup fee, and then now you just they're so inexpensive. You can get
Yeah,
really decent quality stuff. Like even those laser mugs. I mean, those aren't cheap, but they're nothing like they were 15 years ago.
absolutely. And what you print on also says things about you. So I'll do another mistake of small brands, which leads to a nice lesson, which is small brands think too much about what they say and not how they say it, and not
Ooh,
entirely.
that should
Like
go on a shirt right there.
yeah,
That in itself should go on a shirt.
yeah, in the sense that small brands, right? You focus on the words, you focus maybe on your colors. If you're in fashion and high fashion, you usually get this right away because there's so much communicated and evoked in high fashion that's wordless. So you know that how you dress and how your appearance kind of matters. And there's a lot of small brands, they know they need to look professional.
Mhm.
But that's like the bare minimum. It's like the hygiene level of thinking about your appearance. And what I like to use, there's a word I like to use called your brand body language, not a word, a phrase. What's your brand body language? What do people read into your brand by all the things you do? So if you're giving out mugs and they're Yetis, that says one thing. If you're giving out mugs and they're like cheap made in China, that says something else. If you show up to a shoot and your clothes are fine, but they're nothing special, that says one thing. Or everything's black, right? Everything you have is black. But what if you show up to a shoot and your clothes are good and then you've got bright red sneakers on and you've got red piping or red zipper pulls or whatever on your otherwise black gear, and it looks like you're that Korean woman from the Olympics who looked like the shooter. You know, she looked like some kind of character from a video game. Like, you look badass. It takes your brand to a different level. And I'm not saying you always have to go up with your branding, but you have to think about your brand body language, which is, what are the nonverbal things you're communicating as a company or as a person or as a brand.
And that is something, again, back to photography. I work a lot of events, and I was at a high-end wedding, and the videographer showed up in flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt, not just a t-shirt, but a ratty t-shirt. And I just, and I gasped, and I was like, because a lot of times people think photographers and videographers are a team, they work together. So I was horrified. I was like, if anybody thinks that I know this person and am associated with him, like, I was like, and as the night went on, I talked to him. I was like, dude, what the heck?
Yeah, it reflects on you.
I'm like, you don't show up to a place like this, like that. I said, our job is to disappear. Our job is to not be seen.
Right.
And like, everybody's dressed to the hilt here, and you look like a bum off the street. Like,
Yep.
Like, what the heck?
Now,
like,
if you're
degrading our industry.
Right. If you're a famous fashion photographer and you're well known in the industry, and yes, you're a guy, you can get away with flip-flops and a ratty t-shirt because you're so cool and so hip
Right.
and so goddamn successful. But not in that other situation. It's terrible.
And I think that's what he was trying to portray, but he wasn't pulling it off.
Right.
It was like,
right.
No, dude, this is not appropriate.
Yeah.
But you're right. I love that. It is about what you say, but it's more about how you say it, your brand body language. Because, when you said Yeti, like, oh, I did these engraved Yeti, I was like, all right. All right. Because we're a Yeti family. Okay. So we have the engraved Yeti mugs for like every occasion in our house.
Yep.
So I'm like, I see what you're doing there. I like it.
Yeah. And merch, since I did bring up merch, right? And that's a classic case where you just go on Cafe Press or Zazzle and just buy a t-shirt or hats, and they're made in China because you're worried about the pricing. But you should think about the nonverbal things you communicate by which product you print on and where it's made and how much it does cost and whether it's nice quality and all those things too, because those things express your brand.
They do.
Yeah.
They really do. Those are amazing points. All right. So what is your last thought, your big tip? No pressure here, but what is the one thing you want everybody to remember, your big takeaway?
Oh boy. The biggest takeaway would be, you should probably learn about the laws and levers of brand science, of brand growth, a brand strategy, whatever you want to call it. But there are scientific laws, and they're different from the levers, and people confuse them all the time. And they think the lever that I pulled is a law, right? I did great on social media and Instagram, and I post every day. So everybody has to post every day. That's not true. So you got to understand the laws and how they apply to you. You got to understand what levers are and how they work, and how to work with them. And then the third one is, of course, you got to avoid malarkey, which is the third category. Yeah.
I like that. So in the comments and in the description, we're going to have a way for you to get a hold of Ethan, watch some of his YouTube videos, get involved in some of his programs. What do you have coming up that people should get involved with?
I've got one more interactive intro coming up September 17th, where it's about 45 minutes where I introduce you to some aspect of the laws of brand growth. And then about 45 minutes where you get to pick my brain about your brand, your company, your issues. And we get to talk about those. So those are really fun.
I attended one of those, and amazing. You should definitely do that. When I tell you the way that you describe things just makes sense. Like a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and and I always feel like, yeah, really, like, I don't know. But when you say it's because of the guru, society that we live in, and that everybody wants to sell you a lever. Everybody out there wants to sell you a lever, and it doesn't make sense. Like, you're looking at it and you're like, I don't think that's true. I think you're rich because you're selling me your levers. I don't think you're rich because you know how to use these things.
Yeah.
But what you do is you're like, let's put some facts, let's put some research, let's put some science, some actual truths to these, and let's break it down and figure out what the laws are and what the levers are and how to use the levers. Because pulling a lever, like we talked about, is frustrating because it
Yep.
doesn't always work. And then
Yep.
you pull that lever and it's like ka-ching, but you don't. If I could plug you any better, I don't know, but I really want our listeners to know that I always have amazing guests on here. I only ask people that I believe in what they're talking about, but I really want you to get involved with what Ethan's doing, because it's going to change the way you look at your branding, which in turn is going to change the way you look at your marketing, which in turn is going to change the way you live your life. And it's going to be freeing, and it's going to be a game changer for sure.
It's a spiritual transformation, really, is what it is.
It is.
At its deepest level, it's not just an emotional transformation, but it opens up all the chakras, and it aligns all the chakras, and then you are free to be one with the vibrance and abundance of the universe.
Thank you, Guru Ethan. Thank you. Thank you for that.
It's so hard not to slip into an Indian accent too.
That's
Yeah. Yeah. We'll keep that one for the next podcast.
Keep that one for the next one. For that one, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I have appreciated this. This has been packed full of amazing goodness. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me. Nice to chat with you.
Well, I will have you back again soon. I'm going to be bugging you all the time. So
Great.
Thanks a lot. And I will see all the rest of you next week.
Thanks for listening to TimeBenders Talks. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Being a creative business person doesn't have to be lonely. Schedule a tour of the TimeBenders community today and discover how you can join this amazing group of creative professionals and be a part of a supportive and encouraging community where everyone thrives and succeeds. Click on the link in the description.